This time we have somebody called Sandra Berry. Some of you might know. Sandra obviously needs no detailed introduction. On the back of her book it says she's a poet, a freelance editor, and an independent scholar. A couple of people were asking me over there at the book table, what does that mean? All I came up with was, well, you know, it's probably somebody who undertakes a rigorous and focused study of something, not for tenure-track reasons or to climb the academic ladder, but out of passion and I believe all the time that produces better work. It produced 2 books. Sandra wrote Elizabeth Bishop, an archival guide to her life in Nova Scotia. She also co-edited Divisions of the Heart, Elizabeth Bishop and the Art of Memory and Place. And most recently, she has written, what is the, made me think of the Bishop piece. What's it called? Where is it? Primer class. It's a primer class on Elizabeth Bishop. A great book to read if you just want to know everything in one nice little compact package. So thank you for writing that, Sandra, and thank you for everything you do. So please come up and share with us what you're going to share. Welcome, Sandra Berry.
Dear Ma Boomer, enclosed is a bunch of hair Gertrude wanted sent you, cut from the head of the most beautiful baby born in America. She is a Yankee, pure Yankee, has blue eyes and black hair. This morning she said, Daddy, and tomorrow, if it turns out well, this morning she said Daddy and was set up in her chair at table. Took her picture this morning, and if it turns out well, we'll send you one. Gertrude is fine and can probably write you herself in a day or 2. Has more milk than she knows what to do with. So we shall make butter, probably. We started to bear twins, and when we changed our minds, forgot to cut off half the milk supply. George and Maud are so sore, they won't speak to us anymore. But of course, they could not expect to keep up with we Yankees. Give my regards to Grandpa Boomer, and Aunt Mary, and Grace, and I trust you are getting along as nicely and happily as we are just now. Yours very truly, William Bishop. These are the words that Bishop carried with her from her father for her entire life. This letter is in her archive at Vassar. So she knew that when she came into this world, she was surrounded by love, and her father was rightly proud and already knew she was very precocious. This letter was written 4 days after she was born. She was already saying, Daddy. It's very tragic to think that he didn't get to see what she did. And neither did her mother, really. But they clearly had a sense that she was precocious and very, very special. And when I first read that letter, when I was at Vassar many years ago, it stunned me. And I thought, you know, in the midst of all the pain and loss and tragedy, if you've got a letter like that, there's something that's tethering you to your past and to your life. You know, we've been talking a lot about survival and that sort of thing, and how you keep on going. Just that scrap of paper with his handwriting would have been handwriting, wouldn't have been typed on a computer. It would have been his handwriting, his holograph. And I wanted that Gertrude's everywhere in Bishop, but I thought it'd be nice to have William Bishop's voice. I'm really not going to read from my little book, my Little Bishop book. It's not quite the thing that that lends itself to reading. There are little excerpts from, and it's a quick read anyway. So, and I know a lot of you have read it, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm going to read just 2 poems of Bishop's. You're going to hear more tonight. Michael and I will talk, and that's probably easier to talk about this little book in a conversation rather than read. I have been organizing Elizabeth Bishop poetry readings for a long time. In the mid-90s, I suppose, we had our first ones, and I never had any trouble finding people who want to read Elizabeth Bishop's poems. Poets, of course, passionate about doing that, but also people who they don't write, they're not writers, and they are willing to take the chance to read, and because they're wonderful to read. And I've heard many poems read over and over and over by many different voices, and each time it seems like a new poem. I think it's a testament to the power of Bishop's skill and her brilliance. So I'm just going to read 2. The Moose, for Grace Buller Bowers. From narrow provinces of fish and bread and tea, home of the long tides where the bay leaves the sea twice a day and takes the herring's long rides, where if the river enters or retreats in a wall of brown foam, depends on if it meets the bay coming in, the bay not at home. Where, silted red, sometimes the sun sets facing the Red Sea, and others veins the flats lavender-rich mud and burning rivulets. On red gravelly roads, down rows of sugar maples, past clapboard farmhouses and neat clapboard churches, bleached, ridged as clamshells, past twin silver birches. Through late afternoon, a bus journeys west. The windshield flashing pink glancing off of metal, brushing the dented flank of blue, beat-up enamel. Down hollows, uprises, and waits, patient, while a lone traveler gives kisses and embraces to 7 relatives, and a collie supervises. Goodbye to the elms, to the farm, to the dog. The bus starts. The light grows richer, the fog, shifting, salty, thin, comes closing in. Its cold round crystals form and slide and settle in the white hen's feathers, in gray glazed cabbages, on the cabbage roses and lupins, like apostles. The sweet peas cling to their wet white string on the whitewashed fences. Bumblebees creep inside the foxgloves, and evening commences. One stop at Bass River, then the economies, lower, middle, upper, 5 islands, 5 houses, where a woman shakes a tablecloth out after supper. A pale flickering, gone. The Tantramar marshes and the smell of salt hay. An iron bridge trembles and a loose plank rattles but doesn't give way. On the left, a red light swims through the dark, a ship's port lantern. 2 rubber boots show, illuminated, solemn. A dog gives 1 bark. A woman climbs in with 2 market bags, brisk, freckled, elderly. A grand night, yes sir, all the way to Boston. She regards us amicably. Moonlight as we enter the New Brunswick woods, hairy, scratchy, splintery. Moonlight and mist caught in them like lamb's wool on bushes in a pasture. The passengers lie back, snores, some long sighs. A dreamy divagation begins in the night, a gentle, auditory, slow hallucination. in the creakings and noises and old conversation, not concerning us, but recognizable somewhere back in the bus. Grandparents' voices uninterruptedly talking in eternity, names being mentioned, things cleared up finally. What he said, what she said, who got pensioned, deaths and sicknesses, the year he remarried, the year something happened. She died in childbirth. That was the son lost when the schooner foundered. He took to drink. Yes, she went to the bad when Amos began to pray even in the store, and finally the family had to put him away. Yes, that peculiar affirmative. Yes, a sharp indrawn breath, half groan, half acceptance. That means life's like that. We know it. Also death. Talking the way they talked in the old feather bed, peacefully on and on, dim lamplight in the hall, down in the kitchen, the dog tucked in her shawl. Now, it's all right now, even to fall asleep, just as on all those nights. Suddenly the driver stops with a jolt, turns off his lights. A moose has come out of the impenetrable wood and stands there, looms rather, in the middle of the road. It approaches, it sniffs at the bus's hot hood. Towering, antlerless, high as a church, homely as a house, or safe as houses, a man's voice assures us, perfectly harmless. Some of the passengers exclaim in whispers, childishly, softly, "Sure are big creatures. It's awful plain. Look, it's a she." Taking her time, she looks the bus over, grand, otherworldly. Why do we all feel this sweet sensation of joy? Curious creatures, says our quiet driver, rolling his arms. Look at that, would you? Then he shifts gears for a moment